say throughout 2025, it definitely became more of a focus for chains, businesses, but also for, of course, tiny creators like us around here as well. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation and very much agreed. One thing that we should never forget about this is, of course, also to have fun with all of that, right? Because if you're only chasing like the next leaderboard or whatever you could imagine and kind of feel left out or whatsoever, this can also be frustrating. So for that reason, it's definitely crucial to find the right balance here. So super happy to have you around, AC, and looking forward to this conversation. Now we have two more legends, and then we kick it off, guys. In the meantime, right, last reminder once more, you see the Spaces link up there. Every interaction over there would help us a lot. Maybe share some love to the like button, leave your favorite GIF or GM post or whatever you could imagine, so that we can ramp up with a couple more people around here. But yeah, let me pass it over to one of the NFT projects basically that we have up here. And I had a conversation with AC and she was like, yo, could we get them up here as well? And I think today is actually a good fit because it would also be very interesting. What NFT projects are looking for in terms of, I don't know, let's say ambassadorships, their content creators, right? Their communities in general. So I thought it's a pretty well fit for today. The Dog HQ. The dogs are around here, and I love to see it. How is it going today? Welcome to the stage.
What is good, Greenity?
Yo, is that Faye?
I feel like it is Faye. Yes, I'm so glad you recognize me.
Always.
Yeah, you introduced me in a way that you didn't know me, and I like being mysterious like that. But I really appreciate the invite to this panel. I mean, thank you, AC. And Greenity, always a pleasure being on your space. It's always value packed, and I love this topic as well because seeing it from an outside perspective, because I did stream before, but being a founder gets a bit hectic at times, and there's not much time to like be a streamer. Like, you can't be everything in the space. But yeah, I really value this conversation because seeing streamers, I feel like culture is what carries the space. And what better way is there to see culture than through authentically seeing people react to situations or projects or something of the sort? When you see that realness, I think that's what really drives other people to, pay attention to whatever they're talking about. So yeah, excited for this discussion, and thank you again.
Thank you for being around here today and also bringing some more female power to this panel here today, right? Besides AC, that is always something that we love around here, right? Empower women in Web3 even more. We need more women in Web3, right? That's what we always say. But yeah, Faye, super happy to have you around here. And of course, also kind of curious to hear from you, how that looks like from a founder perspective, right? What the current focus is, how much that might benefit a project as well. And yeah, for that reason, perfect fit for you today. Thank you a lot for taking your time. Now, one last person, and then we kick it off. My brother, somebody that is streaming around here for ever, I think, at least since I got in touch with him. I definitely know that he's streaming since the time that I first met him here in Web3 and also IRL. Last year in Miami was a super dope time with this absolute legend. And yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to his bark here today and also what he has to add on to this, because I also know that he's a very big brain when it comes down to content creation, but also streaming and clipping stuff. So SMS, my brother, welcome back. How is it going?
Yo, thanks for bringing me up, man. This is a great conversation, and I just want to let you guys know that this is streamed live right now. I figured out a way to stream Spaces, so I have your image up. If you guys click on the little button right there, you'll see it. But I just want to make sure that this voice and this conversation gets carried out there. It's something I've really enjoyed doing when I joined Spaces. But I'll keep it brief, man. I'm just here to kind of chime in and see what's being kind of talked about. I took a little bit of a different take as far as finding an opportunity. Like when everybody zigs, I say zag. And shout out to the dog. I like seeing more dogs in this space. So I'm gonna give you a follow and see what we got cooking over here.
Yo, that is 100% the perfect fit for you. And yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down for it, SMS. Bring on those zags when we are zigging, right? If you could even say it like that. I'm definitely looking forward to this and also get a couple of more, maybe even, I don't want to say controversial takes, right? But maybe also a little bit of counterpart takes when it comes down to all this glaze, right, that we always see on the timeline when it comes down to empowering creators and streamers and clippers. So yeah, for that reason, super happy to have you around, and I have no doubt that you are going to bring some dope takes to the stage as well. All right, guys. Now, after this little bit of a prolonged intro round, especially for the reason that we have a very big panel here today, let us kick it off. And I would like to, throw a very general question into the room at the very first beginning, right? I already said it. If you got something up your mind, please feel free to raise your hand like this. But if nobody's going to do it, I'm just going to pass it over to somebody that is up here on this panel today to kick it off. All right, now let us get into this. As you can already see, right, influencer capital markets, a new narrative. And since we're speaking about new narratives and maybe even a new meta that we kind of have created around here on the sideline to all of those InfoFi metas, as well as like SteelFi that is also going around the timeline as of right now, I'm kind of curious what you guys think. Because what would you say? How, and even if and how, let's just say it like that, have clipping and short form formats to change the way that creators grow across Web3, so around here NCT, and also beyond, maybe on other platforms? Is that something where you, from your own experience, might even say, yo, this definitely helped me in terms of, building up my brand even more, or in terms of getting more people interested into the space in general? So yeah, let us start off with that one, right? Like, what would you say? How have clipping and short form formats changed the way that people perceive Web3? And Trey, I already see you have your hand up, so please feel free to take the mic.
I think there's really one and only argument to this, is that our brains have been so saturated with needing shit really quick and now. And so most people don't have the time to watch a full 1 to 4 hour stream and really pay attention to it. So the best parts of that is getting that like user generated experience from the clipper, like highlight reels, and highlight reels will pop off that viral moment, and that's what will really make things happen for you. And that can come from you or clippers in general, but you know I think in order to really stand out, you have to have some sort of presence with that consistency and consistent. Oh my goodness, and consistently showing up for that. Like, you know, most people aren't gonna come watch back, so, the highlights are the best.
Man, this is already a very solid point, right? Because I kind of have the feeling that taps more into like, Web2 audience interests. Because if we look across not just X but also other social media platforms, you can definitely see that the attention span gets shorter and shorter, right? Throughout the years, throughout the months, basically, just for the reason that there is, I don't want to say already an oversaturation in terms of content, but let's be honest, right? If you kind of get onto TikTok or onto Instagram, wherever you kind of watch your short form videos, right? You can essentially spend a whole day on there if you wanted to, right? With getting tons and tons of different inputs and tons of different clips. And I would say around here in Web3, that was always a little bit different, right? We always had like very long form content, basically, in terms of threads or also long form posts where people had to spend proper time in terms of doing their investigation or getting in touch with anything that is going on around here. So I agree already that clipping can definitely be a very smart way to kind of get the attention from those people that are kind of used to that content, right? So Trey, super valid point to start off here. And as you can already see, people have been flicking up their hands like crazy. SMS, I think you've been first, and then we take it over to Joachim also for the reason because I have like a little follow-up on Joachim as well when he has the mic. So SMS, please, mic is yours.
Sure. So this is a great question, and the feedback I have with this is you got to kind of look at it in a couple different ways. It's a natural progression of growth, like in this space and media in general. If you look at like how just media and entertainment grew from those only a couple TV shows, only a couple shows, people tuned in, watched the whole thing. As that grew, there's more options, more areas to grow to or go to and go look. So like you're seeing this like
Hmm.
dilution a little bit, but that's a natural thing that's going to happen with expansion and growth. And now you're going to have to compete against everything, and innovation, like that's what we're supposed to be seeing. We're supposed to see people trying to be, the next person to get the eyes, and take the opinions out of it. Like the idea is to get the mind share so you can grow your brand and help other people grow along the way. Like at least that's kind of my take. And a couple other people were mentioning that coming up here. So it's a natural progression. As far as short form content, I was very adamant on long form content during my YouTube journey, like the first 2 or 3 years. I just didn't want to do the short form because I didn't think there was as much value, but there's almost more value because you grasp their attention. Because when somebody watches something, they don't remember what you wear, they remember how they felt. So these clips, these shorts, I took like a whole weekend to really diagnose everything with some AI tools to see where my content was hitting. And it's at 20 to 40 seconds is the threshold, and that's where you're grasping attention. Anything after that, they really have to care about what they're in, but you need to like narrow it down to there. So the clips and shorts are going to hit. Like I wouldn't even say go past 30 seconds if you can help it. And then you just got to go back to the first part of this is media entertainment. When you look at commercials, companies are paying millions for 13 seconds, 14 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever it is, during different things like the Super Bowl, high primetime TV shows, so on and so forth. So you have that going in. You just got to look at yourself like that. Like, how do I get their attention? You have to kind of look at how commercials have been successful and then remodel that with branding, with imaging, with feelings, with hooks, cliffhangers, all those kind of things. So like it's almost being a little bit more simplified, but people are making it harder than it has to be. Show up every single day, bring your energy, bring your voice and your message, and create a following. I mean, that's the natural way this works. And shorts are going to give people a taste, and hopefully they come back for more. And the Clippers, the other thing is we're creating a place with the ICM, CCM, whichever you want to call it, or the DCM, which we kind of launched, which is giving an opportunity for resources to help communities, help smaller creators and people and platforms that maybe aren't going to be able to catch that first wave. But now we've created a flywheel mechanism where it's like, okay, these rewards not only help us, they give us the resources to help other people and grow this in a positive way. So that's kind of like my take on, where the shorts and where this is kind of leading to. And I'll land it there.
That is already a very good point here. And one follow up before I, bring my thoughts here to the table and what you just said is, would you also say from like personal experience, because I know that you're, also streaming a lot and also putting out some clips as well. Would you also say that for you as a creator, it's also easier somehow to carve more content out in a short period of time?
Oh yeah,
Or
because I've been doing it for a little bit, I guess. So I guess it's easier for me to know that. Like specifically for me, I'll just timestamp and then know when there's going to be clips. So if I hit somebody up, I'm like, hey, these are the areas that like I think you might be able to find the clips or whatever. So that helps me expedite the process, because the whole thing is about efficiency and productivity and like executing. That's number one. And we're in an attention space, so you have to be quick with that. But being a creator, yeah, you have the skill set. And before I even started asking people, I made sure I could do this and I knew how to do it, so I can know what to expect from anybody else. It's just the prices, those are the biggest difference in what you're paying for is what you get, I get at the end of the day.
Yeah, that is a very solid take here as well. Because for me, just from like my personal experience, right, especially when I was streaming way more throughout the last couple of weeks, it became a little bit less because a lot of other obligations have kind of taken place, also with IRL business and a couple of other things. But I also realized, right, throughout that period, it was definitely also easier for me to carve out, content even more or put more on the timeline, not just around here on X, right, but also across other socials. That is something that we're going to tap into in a minute around here as well, with a couple of other questions that I have up my mind. But I would agree, right? It's definitely more like a natural progression. I would say Web3 adapts more and more to also the content that we consume outside of here. I would say throughout the last couple of years, the focus was very much onto like CT in general, right? And people slowly but steadily maybe understand as well, like, what am I consuming myself? And if that is something that I enjoy, maybe I should also adapt in terms of my content, right? And carving that out in another way. As you already said, like maybe reduce your video content from like a minute to like 20, 30 seconds and just like hit on the or on the most important pinpoints that you actually want to, yeah, carve out there or want to present there. I also realized that a lot in terms of my video editing, for example, because my very first ones were like 2-3 minutes long. And now slowly but steadily, I kind of progress towards those 40 seconds to max a minute, right? Comes always down to the topic. So yeah, that is a very solid point, my man. Yo, Joachim, I think you've had your hand up next, and then we take it over to the dog. And I would have a follow-up thingy for you straight away before we start off here, because from, as you said in the beginning, right, you're kind of tracking quite a lot. And if we're speaking of like clipping short form content, and of course, that doesn't necessarily just mean video content, also short form content, like very short posts where it's like very easy for people to interact. But would you say that this is also one of the most effective funnels as of right now for onboarding people into on-chain ecosystems, or are there other ways as well in which ways you can get people onboarded?
Honestly, I would think the most effective one is to start experimenting more. Right now, from my point of view, I just want to get to the point that I can dominate CT, but I think in the longer term, we should focus to YouTube, Instagram Reels, TikTok. So we need to know that CT is kind of a village. So most of the new people don't really understand what CT is. So for that, we need to distribute more and more. So yes, of course, we've taken out the long form and now we are clipping the long form, but it's mostly still on CT. I don't know how much is it on TikTok, how much is it on Reels, how much is it on YouTube. I know Leon Abud is kind of doing a switch between Twitter and YouTube. So basically he has like, sometimes he focuses more on YouTube, sometimes he focuses more on Twitter. But I still think it's not enough because we haven't gotten out of that point in time where other people can understand us. We are speaking a language that only us can understand. So for that, it's very hard to onboard new people. Of course, we are moving past that slowly and slowly by doing these clips. Our attention span has right now is so fucked up, and it's not even because of the TikTok, it's because of the internet. I'm a big internet and a big movie film type of guy and music, but I can't watch 90 minutes of movies anymore. And when I was a kid, I was watching films like for 3 hours nonstop. Right now I can watch 90 minutes. So that's how our brain right now is. It cannot digest so many information. So that's why we do all these clippings and try to make the content more and more digestible. But at the end of the day, we need more and more distribution outside of our CT village bubble.
That is something very solid, right? And this is also something that I definitely want to tap into as well, like distribution across other social media channels, because very much agreed. And this is something that we kind of discussed also here on OnChain, right? But also in a couple of other spaces that I'm attending myself as well, quite often, that, we are still around here in a very deep bubbles, if you could say it like that, right? Like CT is still a bubble in its own. And in my opinion, right, many people that join CT, also those ones that haven't been into crypto before, are most of the time those people that are, how would you say that, more deeply interested in terms of getting involved into the crypto culture, right, into businesses, maybe connect even more with some companies that are around here, rather than just consuming that content. And something that we shouldn't forget about this is that, of course, also in those terms, right, there are a lot of different crypto funnels on other social media platforms as well. Facing, let's just say, TikTok, right? TikTok, YouTube, those are very, very big platforms where a lot of stuff is taking place over there as well. Which might, for some people, not even that well seen around here when it comes down to CT, right? Just, I don't want to say that people ignore that, but just for the reason because we're so tapped into everything that is kind of taking place around here that we might tend to forget, there are also other funnels out there where people are very, very deeply involved into crypto or interested in terms of getting that information, right? So that is already a super dope advice
Yeah.
or super dope talking point here.
Yeah, but also you have to take in consideration that I'm still learning the Twitter ropes, and I can see the algorithm is changing. You really have to know what to do, talk with people, experiment, and every platform is so different. So what I'm doing on Twitter, or everybody here is doing on Twitter, it will not probably not work on TikTok, YouTube, or any other platform. So maybe at first it's best to, so that's why I think it's best to just concentrate on something and actually make it work. And after that, exploring exactly how algorithms work on our distribution channels, because everybody is different. Every village is different than the village you are in right now.
Oh yeah, very much agreed. Yo, this is already super dope. And there is something that I have up my mind, but in these terms, I would also love to pass it over to Merhab in a minute because, you know, with all that abstract stuff going on around there as well, that's definitely a very of distributing to other channels, even though we're speaking when it comes down to abstract, of course, once more in terms of another blockchain. But if you think about it long term and kind of the goals that abstract has, right, in terms of, you know, being this consumer chain or consumer platform, that definitely also ties into like distributing your stuff on other channels as well. So for that reason, very solid point. The dogs or Faye. I'm just going to call you Faye because why not, right? People already know it around here. What are your thoughts onto this? Because I've seen your hand up as well.
Yeah, appreciate that. And you can refer to me as Big Dog. That's what I go by. Um, but yeah, I have a take on this. I've had over a decade, more than a decade experience in marketing. So from that, I've always studied these trends very deeply as to how people perceive things, because essentially that's what marketing is. Um, Information is basically irrelevant when it comes to someone scrolling on their phone. Nobody looks at information. They're looking for emotion. And so it's just a thing. You might just, recall into your scrolling habits and think about like, what did you skip and why did you skip it? You skipped it because there was no information, there was no boom factor, there was not like someone reacting to something really shocked. And so your subconscious is actually picking up on emotion and staying for the emotion and then absorbing the emotion. So that's what I think, the short form content or streaming and the clipping kind of enables for people to actually see that emotion aspect of things. Now think about even attention spans across different platforms, comparing like kind of Web 2 and Web 3 here, right? If you're scrolling on TikTok, you're only accustomed to that video content. So you have that constant exposure of the same style of content. If you come to CT, the short form video content is just now emerging. So the exposure is a lot less to the viewers, right? And so it gets a bit more attention than normal if you're comparing the two. So currently, right now, we don't have as much exposure of it in CT. As you're scrolling, you're going to see threads, you're going to see tweets, you're going to see different types of posts, but the video content is going to stand out a bit more here because simply because of lack of exposure so far. I mean, it's just emerging. So right now I feel like it's the best time for, clipping and creators actually utilizing that to the maximum capacity to actually thrive in this ecosystem that we have here. Um, yeah, so I feel like even as, from a project perspective, like you can tell your roadmap 1,000 times. People aren't going to listen to the information. Sure, they listen and they'll think it's valuable, but they're not going to be drawn to you unless they see a why and unless they see some emotion.
Mm.
I feel like that applies to even some games upon abstract chain. Like if somebody sees a video, a short form video, a clip of someone enjoying the game so much, like you can see the emotion, they're drawn to that game. They want to know what that experience would be like. And people are drawn into recreating those kind of experiences. When they see something, they want to partake in that too. So I think clipping really is, kind of proliferating the whole chains across, different chains here.
That is actually very interesting. And just as a quick follow-up, I'm kind of curious, like, how interesting is that for you as a project founder as well? When we face all of those shifts, basically that are taking place right now, is that something where you, in terms of community building or whatever you could imagine, are also looking into, or is this something that is kind of like, as we heard from SMS before, like a natural progression also for you as a project?
I feel like definitely that is something that would be really exciting. I mean, for us as an IP, we're currently rolling out animations, and it would be really cool to see creators, reacting to those animations in, real time. You get to see what their emotions are, just seeing what these animations are like, and if they're resonating with it and talking about it and what they liked about it. I feel like that would be really amazing to see. From a project perspective, that would be like the most ideal thing. And I feel like that applies for other projects as well, in different niches. Like for gaming, I feel like it's a great option. As for us as an IP, like I just see people live to these animations as they drop day by day and get like, it would be so amazing for us to see, the real emotion of someone viewing it for the first time.
Man, this is amazing because it kind of shows as well, right? That this is something that definitely also comes down to, I would say, content creation. If you maybe aim to be, deeper involved into certain NFT communities or yeah, general in businesses as well. I wouldn't just necessarily just break it down to like NFT projects, right? But projects, dApps platforms around here in Web3 in general. And that this is something that, especially for someone that might be new into Web3 and already has some experience in terms of, I don't know, let's say TikTok reel creation or also YouTube shorts or whatever you could think about, that it's for them a very, very easy way to kind of find that funnel into into Web3 and into the crypto world. Hey, super, super solid talking points here. I see Merhab and AC have their hands up. Merhab, if you don't mind, I would love to take it over to AC first because I got something, in terms of abstract plan for you as well. So AC, please feel free to take the mic because I kind of have the feeling you might have a follow-up here on what Faye just said.
I do. Although I do want to say it does not feel great to be told that Morheb is more important than me. Um, I'm just kidding, Morheb. I love you.
I'm not.
Okay, so I was just gonna piggyback on this that um, with the advancement of all this short-term, the shorts, the clips, and everything like that, it's really hard to grab attention, and it can be a challenge. And so we always really get hyper focused on producing something that can grab somebody's attention in those 3 seconds, 8 seconds, and every variation in between. Um, but you also have to understand that your audience is literally out there waiting for the content. It's not that you have to perfect and go according to any specific algorithm. You are a human being and you have interests too, right? So there's going to be a group of people that vibe with what you're interested in. And it's really important to not get lost in the sauce. Like you cannot just try to make yourself better through doing things a very specific way unless you're building it into a process. Build a process to remain consistent, to produce quality work, not to get those 3 million followers, because that's where so many people get lost. They get burnt out. They start producing content that is fluff, and then you get the people that aren't getting something from what they're producing. And you can have those follower numbers and then have only like 10 and 10 people engage with your content, simply because people followed you and then they walked away. um so it can be a challenge to remain relevant, but
Mm.
um I think that the best way has always been to produce content that you yourself enjoy. um and get informed by, get attracted to.
I would also say it becomes also easier, right, in terms of being creative, carving more content out there if you're actually tapping into something that you enjoy, right, and where you have a natural passion about it, right. And this of course also traverses into things that might not necessarily always be in like 100% 100% Web3 related, right? Because we also see a lot of like IRL content being taking place on the timeline, especially CT timeline in general. That is not necessarily always like, tied to Web3 stuff. That also raises a lot of interest. I mean, a lot of people have been seeing this most likely throughout this year as well. Doxing, showing your face on camera and whatsoever is also something that becomes more and more relevant. But of course, you also have to feel comfortable in this kind of sector, because if you don't, then maybe you might want to tap into more like, let's say, clipping of other people's streams, right? And not showing yourself off, right? Super solid take here, AC. Thank you a lot for bringing it up here as well. And now let me pass it over to Murhab, especially when it comes down, as I already said, right? Like spreading content also across variety of platforms. And with you being streaming on Abstract quite a lot, I think that ties very, very good into this. But before we get into that, you had your hand up as well, Murhab. So please feel free to grab the mic and let me know what's up your mind.
Yeah, look, I don't mind like answer both. The thing is, when you were asking the question, my mom called, but like within the conversation, so I got the question even without knowing it. So the thing is, like in general, to talk about clipping and streaming, like if you don't know what content to post first, you can just literally watch famous streamers, let's say, or content creator, and just clip from them and post on your account. Look at Jack. He grow his brand. Right now he's working with Solana Foundation. He's working with Yeet. I guess you know him. Like he worked with Thread Guy. From being maybe someone that doesn't know how to create content, he just clip content, put his thought in, or just like couple words, and the clip will go viral. So anyone could use this meta to grow their account, and there's so much opportunities. And me as a streamer, like I can't recall who first was speaking. Maybe Ayo Viju was talking about, like, posting 20 to 40 second video. I definitely agree. Like shorts, reels, TikToks, like even here, like on Twitter, short video content usually works better than the long form, because long form should be an educational, like uh, teaching something like a skill or whatever content style of Alex Hermosi or Leon Aboud, these kind of videos, like 15-20 minutes. But usually for us as consumers, we just want to scroll, watch while eating, whatever. Some just get the alpha or get entertained, and that's it. So I highly recommend, if you're a streamer, don't make the same mistake as I did, because I've been streaming since last year, and I hosted like maybe more than 50 guests, like people like OSF, like other founders and stuff, and I wasn't clipping my own stuff and posting on the timeline. And that if I used it, I think my follower could have been like twice the number now, but that's all right. So don't make the same mistake and clip your stuff and post it.
Yeah, that is definitely a very, very smart advice, right? Like as soon as I started streaming, for example, I already started in terms of, recording all my sessions basically in there. But I also have to admit, right, when it then comes down to actually put in this time, and this is something that we shouldn't underestimate as well, right? Like that this also, of course, requires a lot of time, especially if you're doing all those things yourself. Definitely make sure to also make use of that stuff and also reuse that stuff, right? Mainly on other social media platforms as well. You just mentioned Leon Aboud, for example, who is putting, like, I would say, short insights on CT, then with the link to the actual like long form clip that is lasting for 15-20 minutes onto YouTube. And he's performing quite well over there. That's something that I definitely have realized. Of course, we should also not forget, right? There's a big marketing team behind all of those kind of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you, as a, I would say, tiny creator, can't have an impact in those terms as well, right? Like I also branched out to other social media platforms, worked out pretty okay-ish, I would say, not well because it was not my main focus, right? But on the sideline, like getting all those views and all this attention, somehow, if you could say it like that, on the sideline as well, is definitely something smart, without a doubt. So Merhab, very solid advice, right? If you're streaming, then make sure to clip your stuff. And if you don't find the time for something like that, then maybe you find somebody that is willing to help you, right? Of course, stuff like this is also somehow tied to money, without a question. So here we kind of tap into once more into the monetization aspect, and also opportunities, I would say, for content creators that clip content from other people, right? But yeah, super solid. Yeah, go on, please.
Yeah, like there's something, I don't know what's the word called in English, but like what companies pay in return of views. For example, I guess in the US is whatever, like $20 for 1,000 views, 1K views.
Hmm.
I'm not sure like what the number is. I think that's something that I learned from a video that I watched as well. So the thing is, crypto companies here and like uh, Web3 and stuff like on Twitter, they they go to us creators and they are willing to pay like a double the amount or even more just for a smaller kind of uh, views, let's say, or audience, since these are the people that gonna pay. Like even though let's say we are a small group compared to the consumers in the world,
Hmm.
but we are the people that are purchasing the product. So for me, as let's say a streamer, I want to pay a clipper to do my stuff. If let's say I'm paying whatever 20 $30 for a one video, a 30-second video, I should expect let's say 5K views from like on Twitter. Is it enough? Like is this covering what I want? Like this kind of calculation you should do as a creator so you can see if this is a winning, let's say, strategy or not, so you can proceed.
Yeah, that is also something, right? You also have to put this somehow, of course, into comparison. Like, how much value am I going to get out of this as well? So, quality-wise, that should also be great, right? When you pay somebody for such incentives, it should definitely also bring some, yeah, conversions. And conversions in those terms, I would not say necessarily in terms of like following or whatsoever, but at least that people actually see that stuff, right? Because otherwise, I don't want to say it's like wasted money. That's definitely not the case, because you can always reuse those things also across other socials. But it's definitely not going to give you that return, right, for what you spent on there. But yeah, Joachim, I think you had your hand up first.
Yeah, just a sec. I want to say that for the people that are streaming, and as you said, you can find people that actually can do the clippings for you. There out there platforms that you can launch your clipping campaign. I don't want to give like some names because I don't want to shield them, because I don't think it's a shield space here, but look for them and you can actually launch like a campaign, $200, $500, and the clippers can come and actually post. And let's say they make 1,000 views, 2,000 views, 3,000 views, and you pay them after they submit their proof.
I would be kind of interested in terms of your own experience as well, Joachim. Like, how much does that tie into, like, or how interesting in general is that also for maybe companies or ecosystems, blockchains, to kind of, pay or put that money out there, right, to get stuff clipped for their own stuff? Is that something that is
Yes,
relevant?
yeah, it's relevant because I saw like reputable podcast companies. So I saw the Rollup launching a campaign like this. I also saw Coinage. So definitely people are doing it. The what I researched, the exact company that is doing these campaigns is still very early stage. So not a lot of clippers out there that they onboarded. The reason is because they have to what list the clippers, because some clippers, they tend to boost their posts. So if they boost their posts, they're going to charge you more for the fake numbers. So basically, that's how the process works. I haven't tried it myself. I just learned about this a few days ago. I watch Mackey's. I don't know if you guys know him. He's a clipper. I saw Mackey's podcast with Kermit. I entered his community, and after deep diving there, I learned about these platforms where you can actually put campaigns and do so. Yeah, of course, there is interest. I don't know exactly at the end of the day, those numbers, what exactly is the retention, how many people actually watch the videos. I mean, that's kind of abstract and it's like a black hole, but I think there is something that is gonna be very, very useful in the future.
Love to hear this. So that means, right, even more opportunities, especially for people around here that want to get involved, maybe also in like bigger schemes, right? And not necessarily just their own personal brand, but also in terms of like, ecosystems, blockchains, or also bigger companies, right?
Yeah, I want to do this myself for the podcast that I'll do. I'm gonna launch campaign also to see exactly how they do, how they. I'm curious, because it's actually very hard to get valuable reach. It's better sometimes to have like a smaller reach with quality people than having like big reach with people that don't have any the bots and people that are not interested in your content, or I don't know, people that are just engagement farming, because there are a lot of them out there.
Got you. Now, very interesting as well when it comes down to this. And I see, we have so many hands up here as of right now, and I kind of lost track who was first. But because this SMS is already barking, so please, SMS, take it on. And then I would like to welcome Mikey G up here on the stage as well. But yeah, SMS, please.
Yeah,
Mike is yours.
this is a good take here, and it's an issue I think across the board because there's so many different ways to go about how do you pay your creator, how do you pay for the services, and that's one of the things that I've been looking into is trying to find somebody that's they do the work first off, and I guess the way I look at it is like I'm not going to pay for somebody to get the views for me. I want them like to expedite that process so it makes that time available for me to do other things so I can just I guess post it and share it to the platforms myself. I do see the value in the campaigns of getting other people, but I just look at like all of the campaigns I've entered before and the various, it just gets super saturated because everybody's gunning for it. And then you know that there's groups of people that know how to try to work a system and kind of band together. We saw what happened with InfoFi, where people were essentially doing the same thing, just to post. It doesn't matter what the context was, but they would farm it, they would get the likes, the impressions, to get paid. And it's like you can manipulate a lot of these things, especially with a anonymous background and stuff like that. And that's most of the people out here. So I've always wondered which way people go about this. For me, it's like if I can do the work myself, how much would I expect to ask for it? That's what I'm willing to pay somebody that wants to align, and like there's more upside from that, but that's just for me being willing to do stuff, and I would never ask somebody to do something I wasn't willing to do myself. But I am curious on that, and another thing from just being around the space, being involved with companies and seeing backgrounds and just seeing things and hearing conversations, a lot of these numbers are highly paid for just to get viewers, just to get numbers in there, and they don't turn over for what you expect. It's a lot more glamour than it is any kind of real value when it comes down to that. So to homie's point, he just said smaller circles, like you get a better response. Like for instance, Scrolly Feed, we launched that game. We only had 100 or so people in the Discord, but the retention and the users, the numbers, they were very close, rather than having like 1,000 people and only having like 1%. We can show that our community is supportive, it's consistent, it's growing, they stick around, they use the products, and they engage. So like those are metrics that will grow slower over time. So when I'm looking and when I've tried to find jobs for somebody, sure, I probably don't have the same kind of motion for a bigger streamer, creator, whatever it is, but the consistency and the reliability and the dependability is there, opposed to the guy that's going to go take the next paycheck from the person or doesn't really care about the value because they just want to get the paycheck. At the end of the day, you got to look at what are you trying to build? Are you just looking for an impact? Or are you looking for something that's sustainable value where you can say, I stand behind this person, this represents our voice and our alignment. And that's, to me, is another point that you have to decide where you want to go as a business or a product or whatever you were doing. But it's a good take, and it's a good conversation to have, because I think a lot of creators have the same questions.
Yeah, and I think everybody knows what happened with those projects that really, really farmed engagement pre-TGA, and what actually happened after
Um,
TGA. The airdrops were delivered, just
uh,
like a small off-topic in the same sphere comment.
Now, very true. Very true, right? And I think this also ties into like all this InfoFi stuff quite heavily that is going on right now, because I think also here we can kind of see like how many people are, leaderboard hopping in terms of ripening those very quick rewards, right? And are not that deeply interested into anything that happens afterwards anymore, which is, of course, sad to see, but that is kind of the reality that we create here when we are kind of like tend to, pay people directly in those manners. That kind of throws me back a little bit into like 22, 23, right? Where we all or where many companies, blockchains as well, have been blasting money out like crazy into big KOLs, but not really getting those conversions, right? Because also from my opinion, or from my own experience, and in my opinion as well, you definitely get most likely more conversions from, let's say, a tiny content creator that has a very solid community, right? That is following up on everything that this person is saying, or somebody that has like 100,000 of followers, where people are not really interested in terms of what's going on over there, right? Rather than this quick reply form, if you could say it like that, in their comments as well, in the hopes to get your own impression scale up a little bit more, right? So yeah, that is already a very solid point, and this is definitely something where I think that this new CCM, right, creator capital markets, or as it says in the title, ICM, right, influencer capital markets, are diving into way properly as of right now, because I have the feeling blockchains, ecosystems, as well as projects are kind of focusing more on those, tiny creators that bring conversions rather than those bigger ones out there, right? But yeah, let me pass it over to Mikey G, my brother.
Alright,
It's been a while.
it's been a while. I had an awesome conversation with Miha. I don't know if anybody saw that podcast. Really good dude.
Oh, I've seen it. Let me share it
Uh,
up here as well.
yeah, it was a really good conversation. I I always get confused by this stuff because I think we're just talking about the wrong thing. Like I could clip streams 5 years ago, you know. Uh, can't stand the guy, but Andrew Tate did this years ago. Like Andrew Tate is Andrew Tate because he implemented this model and was the first to do it. And his goal was to disrupt the internet. I mean, this guy got billions of views based off paying for noise. The thing that I don't think people are, this is just yet Web3 talking about some other shiny object to make quick money. It's really going to boil down to this. I mean, Elon announced recently all of your feeds and algorithms and stuff are going to be starting to be controlled by Grok. The instant AI comes into these platforms, all of this stuff that we're talking about is gone. So what are you left with after that? Literally within a year, the whole social landscape is going to be completely different. So the only thing that you're left with is your tribe, your internet. Like I don't need to pay people that I've built communities. I have a community 3 or 4 years old. They support me because they genuinely believe me as a human being. And so I don't have to pay anybody anything. You really need to be thinking about how do you align these technologies to your brand and your why. You should be spending way more time figuring out a brand guideline and your why and why you're doing what you're doing than trying to game these systems. Because I promise you this, the following stuff, all that stuff, it's going away. And we're just yet stuck in this micro moment. And the reason why I'm so convinced this is going to happen is because people just still, I don't think, understand the fundamental change AI is going to make because our brains cannot process how quickly this stuff moves at light speed. So there will be an inflection point that why would any human be controlling this because AI can do it in a nanosecond 100 times better. We actually become the choke point. And so the only thing that we have left is who we are as human beings, the message that we're trying to convey, and creativity. So the only thing that I would be using these platforms now is actually the complete opposite. Not to get as many clips as possible. It's to cultivate a community, and it's to ask your community, help me diversify my creative output so people can hear my message more in different ways. That's what the brain should be used for, not for just this random BS clipping stuff. And I have so much more to say, but I'll leave it at that.
Yo, if you got more to say, please feel free to bring it on, because I know, and I pinned it up here as well, right? Like the podcast with you and Michael. Because I would also say, in terms of what you're doing over there, it definitely hits a very different angle than to the stuff that we're talking, or that we have kind of phrased it around here, right? Of course, it doesn't necessarily only come down to clipping content and streaming. This is something that I also want to point out here, right? Because of course, those CCM, ICM, however you want to call this, comes down to way more. This can also be written content, right? So we shouldn't like solely align to all of that clipping stuff that is going on around here.
Yeah. The last thing
yeah,
I'll say about the brand situation, I was saying, like, so I'm a prime example, right? I have beat my head over the last 3 years to make, because it's funny. Again, this is the data that you need to start looking at. At face value, everyone's like, dude, Mikey, you are changing the game. I love that you're raw, authentic, and human. But guess what? I'm not the top KOL. So if that really mattered, I would be one of the top KOLs. And so it is very clear what crypto Twitter is about. It's about shit posting, and it's about making money. The reason I have not been on LinkedIn is because I made that clear choice. I didn't want to link my business world with my like Web3 and my podcast company personality. I made that change in the last month because I firmly convinced, if you don't figure out how to be an entrepreneur in the next couple years, you're not going to have a job, and you're not going to make it. So like, entrepreneurship is so important in the near future. I was like, I'm going to throw caution to the wind. I don't give a shit what my professional network thinks of, because I'll be able to get a job anyways with what I've done with the podcast. But my point here is, these pivots are the things that you need to be thinking about. My brand lives on LinkedIn. That I have two options on crypto Twitter and having this PFP. One, I become the shit poster and do the financial advice stuff, which I'm not going to do. The other one is just to be a participant, but then somehow cultivate a strong enough message to make what I do the new meta. And that is an insanely difficult thing to do. So since I don't want to do either of those, it's where is your audience? And then use these tools to proliferate your why. But we just get so caught up in all this bullshit. It's just noise, man.
Yeah, it's, you know, there is a reason why people say that there is a very big difference between noise and signal, right? And a lot of stuff that is definitely happening around here in Web3, without a doubt, or on CT, let's just phrase it like that, is definitely more noise than signal. I think there are just a couple like really well-known people around here that have kind of figured out this game to provide like long-term value for a lot of people, without like chasing all those metas and diving into everything that is kind of new around here, because they're looking for the next profit gains, right? Somebody that I would think about here, for example, and it's like a prime example, is most likely Whale, right? That is like just doing his basically that he's assigned to as being a Azuki research, but not like necessarily tying into, I don't know, let's say short clipping or streaming or all those different kind of things that we have seen throughout the last couple of years, right? But rather concentrating on this, like, yeah, somehow building this brand or even a business, right, around the skills that he has there. And Mikey, I definitely feel you when it comes down to like LinkedIn. I mean, for me, it was never about this like, oh, I don't want to tie my Web3 personality to anything that I'm doing outside of here. it is more like, because I always had the feeling that it doesn't really quite fit to the stuff that we're doing around here, right? It might be a funnel, especially for bigger businesses, companies around there to get their connections. I know when it comes down to Onchain, for example, and also Hero, right? They are kind of, tied into LinkedIn when it comes down to this. But I think for content creators, this might not be, or content creators, right? Like, not necessarily only content creators, but you guys know what I'm talking about. It might not be that overly necessary as long as you don't want to expand on that on like a more professional business level.
I promise you, this is the last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah, okay.
Whale is a great example. Whale was early and he built a brand around NFT. And at this point, Whale is so connected. You all would be crazy to think as a content creator, if you mimic or bring an angle on what Whale's doing, you're going to become somebody. Because that's the other thing that people do not talk about. All of my monetization, all of the things that I've done don't relate to any of my metrics on social. My social platform, all it is a marketing brand promo vehicle for my actual businesses. And so Whale has become this signal, not like, yes, he has some content that people want to listen to and read, but he is at the top when it comes to connections and alpha and what's coming next. That is the way it is. And so, in my mind, as this data layer continues to be automated by AI, you're just very hard pressed to be that person, which also just doubles down on this nuance of you don't have to be the most connected person, but if you build personal relationships with your community and similar like creators, that is how you ultimately win.
Oh, damn, I was muted on my soundboard. Super sorry. I was about to say, yo, listen to Mikey G, right? Because these are some very solid advices around here. I would say, especially from somebody that kind of has, made his passion, right, somehow a profession as well, but in a way that it's not like, combining those things too much, but rather, how would you say that? Like differentiates between like the actual UK thing, actual UK thingy. I was just like seeing UK on my screen. It literally got into my head. But differentiate between like the personal brand aspect, right? That kind of might drive conversions to your business or to your company as well. And then the actual stuff that you do for that business, right? And maybe not tied it too much together. This is, I think, a very smart advice, especially for people that kind of want to branch out with their skill set that they evaluated around here, right? Around in Web3. And I have the feeling many people in Web3 experience a very different skill set that they have, right? Because the consumption and also how you kind of perceive everything that is going on around here definitely differs to maybe your Web2 work or to whatever you've been doing before you joined into Web3, right? So Mikey, that is a very solid point. If you don't mind, I might slide into your DMs. Let's chat maybe about some future spaces thingies around here, or also who knows, maybe there's an opportunity in terms of, I don't know, get a stream done about authenticity and all those different kind of things that we tapped into right now. But we got a couple more hands up here. I think Trey, you've been first if I'm not mistaken, and then we pass it over to AC. So Trey, what's up your mind?
I had something earlier, but I forgot it. So I was supposed to put my hand back down. I was going to jump in if I heard again. But yeah, no, yeah, I don't even remember. I'll come back to me.
All right, all good. It's definitely going to pop up your brains without a question. Yo, AC, then let me pass it over to you. What is up your mind?
I love how it's not just me that struggles with keeping things fresh in their mind when it's a continued conversation. Um, I I think I think what I was gonna say. Um, sorry, wow. Apparently, I'm in disuse of my voice. Um, I think what I was gonna mention, and I'm not sure the relevancy of what we're currently on, but it's it's kind of related to what I think we're speaking about. But the site WHOP, WHOP dot, I can't remember the dot. But being able to access campaigns like that and give yourself goals that also kind of keep up with other people's goals does mean that, you know, you can kind of earn separate from Web3 too. So I mean, there's so many different facets that we can go towards and with, for creation, for purposes, for producing. um and I'm realizing that this is probably not relevant to what you guys were talking about. I
No, good.
enjoy
Go on.
Mikey G. Is always fascinating to listen to. Definitely one of the smartest people in the room. Um and but I just keep remembering back to when large brands started producing content that looked like social media posts. Um,
Mhm.
when they're doing marketing campaigns that hit some of the same structures, colors, pace, language, everything, when it's hitting all those same things, like fitting within what we're consuming. um, you know that the mass amount of communication for brand association um, and marketing to people about products, services, everything is changing. Um, and it's not a case of like what tools are out there, but positioning yourself and knowing yourself and where you want to go with this. It's I don't have enough time in my day to do everything that I want to do, right? And
Mhm.
that's most of the time when I hear any content creators talking about this, and then correlate that to projects, teams that want to produce something. They've got a very specific set of goals that need to be hit, but you can't have a content creator um, that is solely dedicated to one project. Usually, you've got a wide range of people. You've got those people that have a specific network. They've got a voice, right? To tap into that means that you're tapping into their experience. They're always leveling up. They're staying on top of what tools are available, how to communicate their voice better, um, their individual brand. Excuse me, as an entity is also something that people forget has had time to build. Like Mikey G brings an immense amount of experience when he talks, when he's producing anything, um, and that needs to be compensated for. um, I find in Web3 that there's a lot of people that truly don't understand this. They see something on the timeline, they see other campaigns, they see other marketing. Um, wow, I am so sorry.
No worries. No worries at all.
um, and they just follow the same type of path or the same type of wording, just because it's familiar and it's expected. The people to take note of are the ones that adapt and change, and they use and develop their own way of communicating, their own voice. And it's not about fitting in; it's about honing in to your audience, and that goes for projects, that goes for individual creators as well. SMS, I know that you've gone through a lot. You've gone through changes and developments. Um, I look at your journey, and I know back when we met, ages ago by now, um, the way that you've communicated has changed so much that um, it should be just looked at. It should be studied. People need to be aware of the progress. Um, and that I think is why we're always talking about, lately, it seems to me, we're always talking about this new narrative, but it really is like that. It's always changing. We're always developing a new language because we're always fighting for attention. We're always fighting for um I guess, the slice of the pie. I mean, we only have so much audience to pull from. We only have so many people that are actively using on the regular basis. And that means that you need to not just adapt, but you need to distance yourself from the pack by not being a leader, but by being the person that is needed for what your goals are, what you need to hit. While we're all running the same race, you still need to be the person that stands out, that is, you know, wearing all green, or, you know, you're representing some other company for the purpose of going forward. I'm sure that was it. I can't think of anything else to add to that. Sorry about that. That was the weirdest segue I think I've ever had, and there's been some really bad ones.
Nah, don't you worry too much, because I think this also taps a little bit into, yeah, what can ecosystems and blockchains also do in terms of making their content a little bit more digestible, also for not just for us as the people around here, but also if you look outside of Web3. And there are definitely a couple, or outside of CT, let's say it like that, right? Not outside of Web3. And I think there are only like a couple of examples where we have seen like these branches, or yeah, branching out into other niches, right? One thing that I would highly think about right now, which might not be the perfect example to what you just said, right? But I'm thinking about, let's say, GIFs, right? Where Pudgy Penguins, as well as a couple of other projects out there as well, they kind of have expanded their reach through those digestible, you know, content thingies. And even if it's just like a little GIF that somebody puts into a comment, that is also kind of like a segue and a funnel into maybe the interest towards this project without even knowing what is going on there. And this has definitely changed, right? Without a question, because back in 21, 22, of course, GIFs have already been created at that times as well, without a doubt. But them having so much outreach or getting so much attention is definitely something that has changed, I would say, throughout, not necessarily only this year, but definitely throughout the last 2 years, maybe, right? So you have a very solid point there
Yeah,
when it comes down to this.
yeah, I want to dive in here because I felt this on my skin when I started going to conferences in 2023. So every conference that I attended, all the panels were very, very technical. Nobody understands shit. I'm not a technical guy. I understand at a basic level. I run a validator company with my partners. I understand at a very basic, maybe even medium, but it's not normal brands to put millions and millions of dollars into communicate words that people don't understand. They need to oversimplify, and they say, yo, we are gonna solve this with our blockchain, with our consumer app, with our casino, with our everything, because this is the biggest issue. That's why we are still in a village. Nobody wants to oversimplify and say, yo, we are a payment chain, okay? Well, simple. We make payments easy from US to Africa. It takes 1 second. Fees are cheap. That's what we need to know. No, we are a blockchain. We have 200 validators. We are decentralized. We are yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, if you want to build a brand, you have to oversimplify and make people understand. That's what Pudgy Penguins did, and that's why they did best. Also, I studied in the Cosmos ecosystem, and I saw how they destroyed that brand because they didn't know how to communicate with normal people. They kept talking about the tech, that tech is good, but people don't want to hear all this tech, all this EVM, all this jargon, all these terms that are made up, all this abbreviation, all this everything that is changed. Guys, I need to hop in. Thanks for listening to me. Thanks a lot for inviting me, Mr. Greenkey. Every time you want a person in your space, DM me. I'll be there to join. Lovely people, lovely speakers. Have a great one, guys. Really enjoyed your days.
Man, I love that take here as well, especially with somebody that has a little bit of a deeper insight when it comes down to ecosystem through your block hunter, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, block
block hunters.
hunters
Yeah,
work. So yeah, I'm definitely going to hit you up, and I appreciate you a lot for taking your time here. I can definitely tell you there are way more topics that we're going to deep dive into
yeah,
throughout the next couple of months.
yeah. I'm down. I'm down. Just hit me up. I'm down. I'll join this. I loved it. I love your energy, man. That's all that matters.
Appreciate you.
And
Thank you a lot.
have a great one, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we got one more hand up here as well, so let me bring it over to SMS, and then slowly but steadily, guys, we're going to come to an end though, because we're already like exceeded for 30 minutes. Usually the on-chain ones are just an hour, but if the conversation is flowing so well, why should we disrupt the space, right? No need to, as long as Elon lets us hold it. So SMS, please take the mic.
Yeah, if you got a +1 for those spaces or streams or whatever you guys are planning, I'd like to jump in on that because I totally agree. When I got into the space, I got really into the docs and really like learning everything I could, and I realized this is so technical. Nobody's going to pay attention. They're not going to care. The best way I can explain this is like people love driving cars, but they don't give a shit how the engine works. They just want to make sure they know how to put gas in it, essentially the funds, and they want to make sure that thing goes where they need to. And it's like that's as simple as you need to make it feel. So how's your content got to look? Go look at a car commercial. Does it make you feel good? Perfect. That's the emotion you need. It makes you look like there's this culture, this lifestyle of driving this Mercedes. You know what I mean? And that's all it is. It's nothing about maybe they'll talk about the alloy wheels or the frame, but like very, very rudimentary. Like nobody cares. It's cool. Whatever. Cars looks great. So that's like the idea of like how you need your content to feel and how you kind of relate this message to people. Like people don't know how a bank works, but they know how to put their money into the bank and how to withdraw it and spend it, right? So the same exact thing you're saying. So I'd love to be in that conversation and to bring it back to the content and like the creator side of things. My biggest thing was knowing what I wanted to do day one. It was Solana Made Simple. It was creating content around NFTs first off, and then it grew into the ecosystem of the blockchain and understanding, that side of things and growing from there. But it was always if somebody was sitting around the kitchen table, if they could come watch and be like, "Oh, I learned something from that." Like that was like I knew my audience and I knew my audience wasn't you guys. You guys already know this shit. So like why am I trying to get all of X and the people that are in this like echo chamber, like echo chamber rather, to like be my favorite fans and stuff like that. My goal was like I need to grow on X, Instagram, and TikTok where other people are going to be having to learn and bring the stuff like funnel it back to X. That's like the breeding ground. That's the melting pot where a lot of this Web3 community thrives. If you find a way to do that, that always has been like from 2021, like this dude the other day. It might even been Strong down there. He's a new master chef with Marinade Finance. He was like, you got so many videos, you do so much stuff, and it's like I developed a routine because like that's how I stuck out. Like some people would stop because they got tired or they got hurt or they didn't have this or that or another thing. It's like it's a weekend, they're touching grass. I was like, well, what can I do differently? Because if I'm not better and I don't have enough like friends or audience or whatever, I need to have more work ethic. I need to have more discipline. I need to have more consistency. I need to make sure that what I'm doing is like so far ahead of you. By the time that you do those two things, you're still playing catch up. And sure, you might have a better impact, but over time, it will be like undeniable when somebody goes and looks at your content and it's like you've been posting almost every single week for 4.5 years like without stop. That shows you that's a reliable, dependable person that knows their product. And maybe it doesn't hit to everybody because they want the bright colors, they want something flashy, but it's content that you can still look back on and bonk. They hit me up one time, they're like, man, you made this video 4.5 years ago and it's still getting numbers. Like, we appreciate the work, so on and so forth. But it's like, know your audience, know what you're trying to do, and if you're having fun doing it, just don't stop. Like people will tell you, do it this way, do it that way, you got to change this, and like you don't listen to them, man. Like the best thing I would say is do what feels right for you and grow as you need to. Like don't be fancy, make sure that you're getting the point across and you find that audience that way. And it's a lot easier process to like go through the hard days, the days that nobody looks at anything, because it's like you still feel good about doing it. And I don't know, I'm just gonna leave it at that. But if you're not doing content with that kind of mindset, you're going to have a real hard time in this game.
Oh man, yeah, this is something, right, that I definitely agree on, and I think this is something where many people struggle as well, especially right now with this InfoFi meta kicking off so hard, right? That that people can't quite distinct, like, what is the actual interest that I want, or what is my actual interest, right? Where I feel comfortable in terms of putting some stuff out there. Because as soon as you have figured this out, it's going to be way more easier to think about ways to make this more digestible, as you already said, right? Like, it doesn't matter for anybody that looks a core commercial how the engine works. It's more about, like, those emotions, spreading those feelings. And as soon as you bring this passion to the table because you're interested into a certain topic or into a certain niche, that is definitely going to improve your content in general as well. Super solid take here, SMS. For everybody out there, right? If you're interested, feel free to follow up on this legend here as well. And now we got one last hand from the dogs because they are back here with us. So Faye, let me pass it over to you, and then we're going to wrap the space up for today.
Man, X has been rugging the heck out of me today. I got kicked off of the stage like 10 times. But yeah, thank you for closing soon because I can't do this anymore. But I remember a little bit of a conversation I was hearing about. I mean, by the way, amazing takes from everyone. This has been pretty insightful, just listening in as well. But yeah, I heard the conversational bit about, authenticity and emotion as well. So yeah, like authenticity is really that multiplying factor when it comes down to everything. And it kind of like compounds in a sense for the entire ecosystem because when projects cut deals with like creators or streamers, and if it's just for reaching a certain target as such, it does come off flat. And I remember also mention how can projects and those offering these deals to creators make it in such a way that it actually feels more authentic. I think one of the things is definitely like your values need to align with the project or the founder behind the project. That's one thing for sure. If there is no alignment, it's pretty much obvious in the content that is produced thereof. I feel like you need to be able to connect with what you want to create content about. There needs to be a connection. And so for it to actually come off authentic and real and show real emotion, that is the type of content that actually sticks. If you're going to just do some sort of content for the sake of doing it, when you're not exactly feeling it for that certain thing or that project or that product, it's not going to turn out good. And I've seen it, I've tested it myself. Like there have been times where I've created content when I didn't really feel like it for certain different avenues, right? And it just doesn't stick. It's very obvious. It's energy doesn't lie, right? So it's going to come through in the content that you're creating if you're not feeling it already. And feeling it just simply means aligning with it or enjoying it genuinely. So yeah, just it'd be great to see more authenticity in terms of, even projects providing outlets for different creators in a manner that actually helps them in embracing that authenticity, like having them try something out for the first time while streaming or something of that sort, where they can genuinely come through all authentic with their personality and their own cultural traits to it, and actually react to their product instead of just being like, hey, stream about us. Like I feel like creators definitely to embrace more of the authenticity. It would be really nice for projects or someone on the team to actually prompt something over so it just becomes more natural that way, or maybe a discussion about it. But yeah, thanks Greenity again.
Thank you a lot. And yeah, very much agreed, right? Like, I think with authenticity, and regardless if it comes down to like you as a creator, also like staying authentic as a blockchain or ecosystem, right? Towards your vision, towards your goals. It's a massive helper that people underestimate quite a lot around here, right? And I think we also see that in terms of CT appearance of maybe some people, right? And I couldn't think of somebody specific as of right now, but where people are kind of tend to, I don't know, maybe rather play a role than being themselves, right? Which And this is something that Mikey tapped into before, right? It's something though that many CT people or many CT consumers, let's just say it like that, are not even really looking forward or for not really looking for. Let's just say it like that, right? That might rather come down to projects, maybe also ecosystems that they want to have like cool, authentic people on there. But as Mikey said before, right? If it would come down to authenticity as like the prime driver or the prime focus around here, most likely many other people around here, also here on this panel, right, would be way further in terms of their journey than they actually are. But yeah, this is just like kind of part of the game, right? But I definitely agree here, Faye. For me, myself as well, and also in terms of what I present, I'm way deeper into, yeah, you know, staying authentic with my content rather than tapping into certain metas or certain niches that might pop off right now, right? So very much agreed. Yo, SMS, you got your hand up once more, so please take it on again, and then we're going to wrap the space up for today.
Yeah, dude, you do a great job of being authentic and being yourself to a T. And I just try to tell people when you're streaming, making content, talking in a space, just try to keep this in mind. Like, imagine sitting at a pub or on a couch at a coffee shop with the person right next to you and nobody else around you, and carry yourself like that. Say stuff in that nature, because it's going to come out so much more like digestible and normal. Like you're talking to a human person. But I've also kind of offered this to anybody that's interested in streaming and getting out there and trying it out. It can be a little daunting at first. It's not the easiest thing to do just from scratch, but that's what I did. So if you guys ever want to give it a shot, hit me up. You're more than welcome to jump on the streams. I do a couple of them a day. Some days just jump on, and the more reps you get, the more comfortable you'll be. So when you get that opportunity for a job position, or you're trying to get one, it'll come out a lot cleaner. But being authentic and making mistakes on the stream with me, it's absolutely fine, because that's how I learned. And I think that's just part of the what we do here. So feel free to hit me up and let's collab.
Let's go. Yeah, definitely, right? Make sure to also, and this is something that we should normalize a little bit more once more around here. Also make sure, right, to maybe follow up on 1 or 2 persons around here in the space, or also up here